Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with my colleagues,
Dave,
Nate,
and today we're going to look at the recently released PDF for Elemental Evil, the player companion, and we're going to talk about the new races, the Aarakocra.
Okay, well,
so what do you guys think?
I like it.
feathery.
They're feathery. So of the little stat block that you got here for this new race, there's two interesting facts that I think.
There's actually one thing that bothers me more than anything.
All right, what bothers you the most?
Okay, so I know everyone's bitching about the 50-foot of flight, but I hate the fact that they have arms that aren't attached to their wings.
You know, I was thinking, Dave's probably going to complain about this. It's funny. I was like looking at them, and
You're like, Dave's certainly going to bitch
Dave,
about
yeah,
this.
Dave is going to say
He's such
something.
a prick.
Well, because older pictures.
There's the picture out of the PDF.
Even in second edition, right? They had
Third, yeah,
the bird wings that had claws that
Yes.
they could use. Yeah,
yeah.
and they also took like double damage from blunt
fire.
weapons, right?
I don't know. I don't
feel
know
like
if they
they-
did.
I feel like it was
there
bad
might have
use
been
for
different iterations. Like they had like severe like claustrophobia and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I think that was the Avarials, though.
It's,
I mean, the
The
write up.
elves, the winged elves.
with the claustrophobia.
Yeah.
No, I think it was these guys.
Okay.
And either third or second.
The write up for them is really good. I
For
mean,
Dark
it makes
Sun.
makes you want to play them. I think based on
Yeah.
Well, looking at the new picture, like they seem like far more akin to an eagle than they do to like a carrion bird.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
you also get that feeling from, I think, reading it. You get that
Absolutely.
feeling that they're
They're
like
Hawkmen,
they're
man.
on like an awesome mission.
They're eagle men.
I looked at them in editions past, and they seemed a little corny to me. You just enough to push them aside. So somebody else will play that race. I look at it now, and I'm like, these guys are pretty darn cool. And the fly speed I think is really neat. They quote unquote counterbalance it by the fact that their walking speed is reduced. They're not as quick as
Why would you ever
characters.
walk if you could fly 15?
Additionally, being the first race to get a fly speed, they're also the first official race to get an unarmed attack proficiency, which I think is really neat.
Yeah, plenty custom races have had it, but this is the first one.
And then, of course,
that.
when you get to the languages, are they the first one to get 3 set languages?
No. There's other races that get more languages.
No, okay. But their fly speed is being counted as a huge block of what they get. They don't get a skill. They don't get any other real abilities. Getting dex and wisdom, they're designed for. Oh, look, go play a monk. But if you do that, then your talent proficiency kind of goes out the window because it gets bumped up to a d6.
Yeah, eventually, and even higher.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, if who's going to fight with their talons anyway? They're going to use weapons. I mean, weapons are better.
Yeah.
You can pick up a short sword and do a bigger die. I mean, if you in a pinch, attacking with your claws is a good deal. Talking about them and natural weapons and attacks though. Like, I like the old version where they attacked with their feet, where they used, they would throw javelins and stab with the javelins. So, like, there wasn't any real difference. They weren't at a disadvantage because their hands were part of their wings. It was just, a visual thing.
Right.
And now they really are just eagle men. I know a lot of people, like I said earlier, are crying about the 50-foot of movement speed.
Well, as a DM, it's a lot to get used to. You got to prepare to have a flying guy
Now,
with a flying.
it doesn't say in here I actually have to go to the monster manual. We should have did that beforehand to look at the wingspan on them. But I feel like it's significant. Like in a 10-foot corridor, you're not flying.
I think that makes sense.
without risking damaging yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you figure, a grown man who's like 6 footish in height has an arm span of about 7-8 feet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So in 10 feet, you're not going to fit. No.
Yeah. So trying to fly.
You can't do this with your wings and get loft. It doesn't work.
Yeah. You don't have enough room.
Make it a little hopping action, but that's
so
not going to get you a 30 movement speed.
So the things that as a DM that you're going to have to deal with when you've got these type of things, anywhere where you got like, oh well, the players have to cross a chasm, or this open area just presents a, hey, it's not crossable. Well, it is to the Aarakocra.
Yeah. So that's something that you're gonna have to deal with.
Yeah, if your whole campaign's based off of them not doing certain things because they don't have flying, it's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's certain spots where it's like, oh, you have to solve this puzzle, or I could just fly. Well, that's like his race. That's like his only benefit is he can fly and he has talons. Come on. So it'd be cool that every once in a while that
he does to get to go bypass something.
He saves the day. Just like that kind of reference we made to Warforged, how not being immune to disease is really a big deal when your plan is to infect the party all with disease and he's not affected. So like.
But other than that, it's useless.
Yeah, like okay, I can hold my breath. That's great.
Yeah.
So
well, no, he doesn't need to breathe. There's a difference.
Yeah, so with Aarakocra, I mean, let him use that flight as a cool thing every once in a while and save the day.
Absolutely.
And just put it into your plans.
And once in a look, guys, this is where that random encounter chart comes in really handy. You put some flying things on there, and you only got one guy in the air, and he's got to deal with the Wolverine or the dragon, and oh my God, he's only 2nd level. Hey, look, buddy, it's not my fault you got wings.
How about you get on
and
the
you
ground?
look like a giant, tasty chicken.
Yeah, giant predatory birds, the rock.
Weakness, barbecue sauce.
I don't know. Some people like the ranch.
Well, that is true. But, So, like, all right, so I can see how it can break certain instances, but it's not a game breaker for me. I don't care. Like a lot of people get really pissy about stuff and start with that not in my game bullshit.
So the fly, like I said, other people are complaining about. So as a DM, okay, yeah, you're gonna have a problem with the chasms that they can just fly across, but unless they're engineers and whatever else, they're not going to get the entire party across. Unless it's like a, hey, go retrieve that object that's over there, and they can just say, all right, got it.
Or what if like the cavern they're flying over, there's like a cave opening underneath with like a little overhang or something, and like there's a Medusa hanging out there, and they just happen to see it. Then all of a sudden they're making a saving throw that if they don't make,
they're done.
They're done because they're going to fall and break.
So the other thing is all right. Let's take them completely out of the dungeon and have them on an overland thing. So all right, yeah, you said what if there's a flying monster? Well, suppose the characters are more powerful and they're fighting something, and the thing decides to retreat. Well, he's the only one that's going to go after them.
He's the only one fast enough.
He's the only one fast enough to chase after it.
And what if he's a monk barbarian with mobility?
So, well, I don't know whether
the monk burning up in the atmosphere.
I don't know whether the monk and the barbarian abilities say like your speed increases or your walking speed increases. I gotta look that one up.
Pretty sure it's just speed.
It's just movement.
Yeah, it's just movement.
Man, that's crazy. So,
70 feet around.
Well, I mean, a monk
80 feet around
should be able to fly faster.
At that point, the wings are like. As the jets fire.
So I'll say,
I just hear sonic boom.
So when he goes to the side, all right, I'm going to go charge against this thing, and you realize that they were fighting something that's got intelligence, and it fainted. So it turns around to go one-on-one with this guy in the air, and oops.
Well, yeah, there's that, or it's just nasty to begin with, and you shouldn't chase it by yourself.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Even if it's wounded, it wants to leave, but it's not gonna die easy. Yeah.
Yeah, so even like a Wolverine or something like that. And like, here's the other thing: if you're a flying character and you get taken out while you're in the air, that's an instant failed death save.
Oh,
because you're gonna fall and take damage when you hit.
You're gonna take falling damage, which is going to be a crit, right?
Oh.
You're incapacitated. You just got hit. That's a crit.
As a DM, I wouldn't automatically call that a crit.
Anytime you take damage when you're incapacitated.
Well, if it's any time you take damage, then yeah, it would be doubled.
Yeah, so you can take double damage for falling, and that's a failed death save.
Mm.
Well, yes, but doesn't a crit automatically give you 2 death saves? 2 failed death saves?
I don't know. We'll have to look up the ruling on that.
Because
there's definitely some minuses to being in the air.
Yes. And, I actually had that happen to me in a Mutants Masterminds game.
And plus, I kind of feel like... oh, yeah, you did. I kind of feel like in 5th edition, because it's so easy to heal, I feel more inclined to drop players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like it's kind of like my job as a DM. Because it's the only way to make them like a little bit scared, because they know they're going to take a nap and get all their hit points back, right? Unless we change the rules and make it a little bit more tough. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to drop a player or 2 per combat,
or allow your players to drop the players,
as the case may be, or if they just do something really stupid like get swarmed by Sturges and the one character that has sleep doesn't put them all to sleep. There's things like that.
That doesn't happen.
That are beyond my control. So.
Or the cleric forgets
So
to turn on
I
the
see that the Aarakocra discussion has turned into, don't hate them. You can still beat them up.
That's always been my point with almost anything, like different rules in the game. Like, as the dungeon master, like, this is a whole different video, but as the dungeon master, you have access to all the traps and all the monsters.
Yeah.
Like, beating up the players isn't really a question.
Yeah, you can do it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
So who cares if someone can fly?
All right. So what do you guys think? Look at the breakdown. Go check out the PDF.
We're for the. I say I'm for the Aarakocra, but we should touch on the classes real quick.
All right. So.
How do you play an Aarakocra? What do you do with them? They're going to make super cool barbarians because they're restricted in armor anyway. Rangers, awesome rangers, because, well, in my opinion, the ranger is a skirmisher.
Yeah,
they're going to make an awesome monk, getting dex and wisdom. Yeah,
and faster.
Yeah,
and
excellent rogues.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the mobility feat with them is so freaking sweet. You can dive bomb for days. If you don't want to just rain death from above, because like if you're going to go caster, you can really just take spell sniper.
Oh jeez.
And and just hang out up there. Fortunately, the only casters that are really equipped to be are druids and clerics. Stat wise, but. But if you want to go off stats and go with something else, a wizard, sorcerer, or a warlock is just going to be able to rain mass destruction.
So and let's also look at the fact, regardless of where you go, you're getting a bump to 2 of the prime stats. So therefore, your saves are going to be better as well.
Well, yeah, and let's face it, like Dex is like the master ability stat in 5th edition. It's your armor class. It can be your hit to damage.
It's your initiative.
It's your AC. It's an important saving throw, it's your AC.
So that's pretty massive.
And then wisdom. I like wisdom too because perception.
And your wisdom save.
And it's a big saving throw.
It's like, we played that game yesterday where it's like, all right, can you pass this dragon's wisdom save? And holy crap, it's like, I get a +3 and the DC was 22.
Yeah.
I got only a 10% chance to make this. This is no good.
Yeah, I was a monk. Well, no, they don't really get a good save there, but I had like a +2 to that save, and then I had 2 others, so I was like a +4. And I wasn't even close. I would like it too.
I dropped the 19, and I'm like, oh.
Should have been an Aarakocra. I asked if I could play an Aarakocra gift. Andrew wasn't having it. It's a new breed. So like they're very well equipped to be any kind of Dexy character. Like you said, it used to be the Wood Elf was the master race for monk, but you got to move aside because now we got the Aarakroca.
Yeah, the flying.
I mean, it makes their talent attack pretty useless, as you stated earlier, but who cares?
Yeah, isn't a talent attack mostly useless any other time?
Yeah, you're a fighter. You're gonna hit them with a great sword anyway.
Yeah,
or a rapier in this case.
Yeah, or a short sword, or pretty much anything.
and anything but. You might be like, do I use the dagger or do I use my talons? But otherwise, yeah.
Well, I mean, there is that whole situation of, okay, you've been kidnapped, you've been disarmed, You know,
You've been bird napped.
you've been bird napped.
Yeah, I would definitely make the argument
you know.
if it did a D4 attack, then you could cut rope with it or something.
So you get something out of it, and
it's slashing damage.
Yeah.
So you have that extra little oomph that you can do in those unique situations, or if you just want to be like, you know what, no, I'm a badass. I want to just fight with my talons and do less damage. Well, then you know what,
You can
do it,
and you're proficient.
That's right.
So now I think we've covered Aarakroca.
All right. So once you guys put your comments below what you think. As players, do you feel inclined that you want to give these guys a shot? As a DMs, are you allowing it in your game? Let us know down below. While you're doing that, feel free to click like, share, subscribe.
And while you're at that, feel free to head over onto our Patreon and support us and help us bring you more great content.
And you can also join the conversation over on Reddit.
So until next time, stay nerdy.